Now, the car behind me needs no introduction. It is known as one of the most popular cars in India, and more importantly, it held the title for the most sold vehicle in India as well. Now, Maruti claims that they sell nearly 100 units of this every hour, which means that by the time I'm done with this video, Maruti has already sold plenty of them. But as an automotive journalist, it is my job to introduce you to this, the all-new Maruti Suzuki Alto K10. So let me talk about the overall design of the K10 because you guys really love the K10 in general, don't you? If you ask me, I like its compact dimensions that it's carried forward from the previous generation. More importantly, if you look at the front is slightly redesigned and they have these fake ducts, but it has nothing. You have this nice plastic grille here which looks nice and large, which actually makes the car look slightly bigger. Move over to the front and you have these nice headlights, redesigned headlights per se, which look really nice, but I feel that they resemble another vehicle as well. Move on to the side of the Alto K10 and first of all, it resembles the Celerio, which is a pretty good vehicle to begin with. But nonetheless, you have this nice sharp line over here, body line. More importantly, you have a nice body line here as well. And I can't remember the last time I saw a 13-inch steel alloy wheels on a vehicle. If you ask me, I would opt for the optional alloy wheels instead. Also, you have this plastic mirror cap here. Again, cost cutting by Maruti. The window size is pretty decent and overall dimensions is pretty compact for the Alto K10, something that it's always known for. So while I was talking about the side design of the Alto K10 and I mentioned its 13-inch wheels, I noticed that the body and the wheel has a huge gap, which makes it look like an SUV, but it actually isn't, because if you put bigger wheels, it is slightly going to increase, which does improve its overall stance. But it looks nice if you ask me. Now, while I spoke about the design elements of the Alto K10, here are 5 things I did not like about the Alto K10. The first is a single washer for the wipers, which is, even on its top spec guys like we have, you don't get fog lights, which is damn annoying, but you can opt for DRLs instead. Optional, obviously. Come on, Maruti, you could have painted this. Why is this plastic? Looks cheap. It's a top spec car. Why do I still have steel wheels? Why is the alloys optional, Maruti? In this day and age, I'm having to roll down windows. What is this? This is a top spec car. Much easier. Now, here are 5 things that I liked about the all-new Alto K10. The Maruti Smart Connect infotainment screen, which is touchscreen. You have steering mounted controls on the Alto K10. That's cool. At the front, you have the digital display, which again makes it look pretty charming. The paint name is damn funky, metallic speedy blue. I really like that. And the design of the tail lights, really funky. Step inside the all-new Maruti Alto K10 and it certainly feels like home because it does slightly resemble the previous generation. But nonetheless, Maruti has upgraded a lot of things such as the smart screen infotainment system, which more importantly is touchscreen, this digital driver's display, a better steering wheel with steering mounted controls, and the overall fit and finish has improved as well. While yes, everything still feels pretty plasticky, you can't really complain because this is not very expensive to begin with. More importantly, you have a nice amount of cubby holes here, you have a cup holder here, and even on the door you have a decent door card with a bottle holder. You have a nice screen like I mentioned. You will notice one thing very interesting, which is the fact that it now comes standard with dual airbags, which is mandatory in India. Talking about the overall space, me as a driver, looking at the way I am sitting, I have quite a lot of space at the front, but I can't say the same for the rear passengers. But that is something I will talk about when I'm at the rear. Also, the shoulder room between both the driver and the passenger is decent. The headroom is decent in the front. So yes, overall, although it has its compact dimensions, it is pretty roomy on the front in the inside. Now let's move on to the back seat. Now I'm feeling pretty hot at the back. Let me just roll down the windows. It's hilarious. But nonetheless, I'm 6 feet tall and the driving position is set to my driving position. But I still have some sort of knee room, and more importantly, my legs can go inside, which does improve the space. I also have quite a lot of decent headroom. But I'm presuming that at least 2 people can sit at the back, but not 3 because you don't have a lot of shoulder room because the car is not very wide to begin with. Now talking about the seat cushioning, the seat is pretty cushiony. It has a nice amount of foam. More importantly, you have a decent amount of leg support, not a lot of thigh support, and the rear backrest does help you sit and relax comfortably. So long journeys in this should not be a big problem, because that is something a lot of people do with the Alto K10. Now talking about the boot of the Alto K10, you have two ways of opening it. One is from the inside, and the second is put the key and open it. You don't have a button to open it, but open it and you have a nice parcel shelf which can actually take a lot of weight, and more importantly you have a 214-liter boot space which can take a lot of luggage, unless you put a CNG kit in it, which most of you would, I'm presuming. For 2022, the changes on the Alto K10 are not only on the outside, but Maruti Suzuki has also tweaked the engine. This K10C new engine produces around 66 bhp and 89 Nm of torque, and is mated to a 5-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual gearbox. When I mean automatic, I mean the ASG or AMT gearbox as they call it. Now, a question that all of us has is kitna deti hai? Before I mention anything else, I'm going to answer the question that everybody asks is kitna deti hai? And Maruti claims that this can do nearly 24.5 kilometers per liter, which is pretty impressive. Now let all of those things aside, let's move on to the performance, handling, braking and other things of the vehicle. If you talk about the performance, yes, I'm not expecting to be this extremely sporty hatchback, but I get why most people like to drive this car. Because one, yes, the engine is extremely punchy, and even if you have passengers on board, it does climb those hills and mountains that I see this car most of the times doing very well. It's gonna do that, continue doing that actually. Speaking about the gearbox is extremely slick. Yes, the ratios are slightly long, so you're able to hold the gear for longer, which means that when you're stuck in traffic, you don't have to keep shifting the gears, or more importantly, when you're on the highways or on the ghats, you can stay in one gear that gives you a good amount of power in that gear, especially when you're in third or when you're in fourth gear. It does push from those gears as well. Now that I came to a halt, I got to test the brakes for the Alto K10, and that is pretty impressive. It has disc brakes at the front and drum brakes at the rear, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have decent braking capabilities. The brakes are pretty sharp, have a decent amount of bite. Yes, they are not the best, but they do their job pretty well. So all that performance and all this braking together makes it quite a good package. Is in the previous generation Alto, the suspension used to feel very jarry, and yes, it had its decent suspension, but this feels a whole lot refined compared to before, which is very impressive because the ride quality has improved significantly, making this car a whole lot comfortable and a whole lot more convenient for people to use over those long journeys. Combine that to the fact that I mentioned about the gearbox, the engine and the suspension, it does make quite a good contender for those long journeys. But again, not something that I would really recommend. There are some niggles that I have with the Alto K10. For instance, although this is the top spec variant, I don't have electronic controls for the mirrors. I have to manually adjust them using these, which I feel is from the 2010s. And I have a digital display in front of me, but I don't have a tachometer, which I feel is something that you could have given Maruti. Other than that, I like the fact that the steering feel is very nice. It is extremely light. It has controls on top of it, so you don't have to keep moving your hand. The steering wheel as such is pretty decent to hold as well. The seat positioning is again pretty high, so you're able to see out of the road pretty well. Downside of that is if you're taller, you do want to sit slightly lower, but you can't adjust the seat height. And all in all, a good package. Space is good. The NVH levels is also pretty decent. You can't hear a lot of road noise on the inside. Like, you can hear a normal amount. I'm not expecting it to be extremely good, but for the car that it is, it does its job pretty well. So all in all, I am pretty impressed with the Alto K10, and it is something that has caught me by surprise because I was not expecting it to be this good. Now there is one very important element that we Indians are really concerned about, which is the safety aspect for any vehicle, and that has not always been Maruti's strongest point, but that is all about to change with this car. Now yes, Maruti is working on the safety. For instance, the Alto K10 comes with dual airbags as standard, comes with ABS, EBD, a collapsible steering wheel for an impact sensing door locks, speed sensing door locks as well, and an overall comfort and safe package which does make the driver and the passengers feel a lot more secure. So yes, if you ask me, Maruti has improved on the safety aspect as well. Now after spending my time with the all new Alto K10, I finally understand why a lot of people buy this car, because it is pretty cheap and more importantly, it does offer a lot for its money. Yes, it does have its plasticky bits and the engine is only performing at a certain degree, but the advantage that you have is the price tag that it carries, which starts at 3.99 lakh rupees, certainly means that this is extremely cheap. Yes, like I said, you do see the cheapness inside, but that is a compromise that people don't mind spending because they don't want to spend a lot of money to begin with. So, if people are looking to buy their first car or a second car for the city, the tier 1 or tier 2 cities, this certainly is a good option. More importantly, the Alto will come with a CNG at some point of its life, which is going to make it a lot more better for a lot of people who want to buy it. With that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to BBC Top Gear Magazine India. This is Yash Sunil, continuing his fishing because I'm in Kerala after all.